Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Good evening and welcome to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and once again, excited to be hanging out with you again on Tuesday night. As you know, each week we have a great guest and a special topic. And for many of you, you may or may not know, this is almost 3 years. So weekly for 3 years, that means almost 150 episodes, which has been great. Excited to come before you and share and have great guests. But even though we've had almost 150 episodes, that doesn't mean we've covered all the topics. Actually, this topic we're talking about today is our first time covering it in 150 days. So, or 150 episodes. So very excited about this. As you know, I always hope, try and make sure everybody knows that your most important job is sales and marketing as a business owner. So many of our shows will be focused on different sales and marketing strategies, best practices, expertise, because there's so much to learn there. And the better and more successfully you sell and market, the more successful your business is. So today is along our sales and marketing theme. Topic is leveraging the power of strategic alliances and licensing with Scott Overbeck. So, here's Scott here real quick, business growth expert at Seacoast Consulting Group. And I had a chance to connect with Scott virtually, and we had a chance to chat and learn a little bit about what he does. And, he really helps people license their intellectual property, which is key because every business has some level of intellectual property that may or may not be licensable. But that creates a business opportunity that many times we don't think about or we don't take advantage of. So I look forward to learning tonight, what type of intellectual property and what we should do to figure out if it's viable, and also how to monetize that, for lack of a better word, because I kind of hate that word. But definitely that's what business is all about. So look forward to having a great evening talking to Scott, and let me welcome him right now. Hey, Scott, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to hang out. We're going to have a good chat and learn some useful stuff. So really looking forward to that. We've had a chance to chat and have an understanding of sort of what you do and how you got to where you are. But it'd be great if you could share that, share a little bit about your journey with our audience before we get started.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Andrew. And hi, everybody. So as Andrew mentioned, my name's Scott Overbeck. I'm principal of Seacoast Consulting Group. And, that's been my baby for the last little while. But the journey that led me up to where I am now really took me through big corporate. I spent many, many years, I think probably just shy of 30 years in big corporate. and doing all kinds of things. Mostly was in the banking, financial, and fintech space. But when I looked back, I saw kind of a weaving of various themes that I did through the entire time that I was there, and a lot of it really emanated around revenue growth, revenue generation, as well as optimization. So you're trying to take what exists and optimize it and make it better. Um, when I saw all the things that big corporate was doing to kind of build their businesses, to expand, to grow. And then I kind of compared it to what small to medium sized businesses were doing. I realized that there was a huge disparity there, and really there was a gap that I wanted to fill. So what I ultimately ended up doing was leaving corporate, starting Seacoast Consulting Group, and really with the goal of kind of taking all the tips, tricks, strategies, techniques that I've learned over the years at big corporate, and teaching small and medium-sized businesses how to leverage those things. So a few of those areas that really I lean into are licensing, strategic alliances. Um, some people know joint ventures. We could talk about those, upselling, cross-selling, bundling, really all of those things. And it all kind of emanates around how can we grow what we have, take what we have and grow it.
Excellent, excellent. So, you don't look a day over 30. So how'd you spend 30 days in corporate and still look
I
so young?
appreciate that.
So,
Just shy of 30.
okay, just shy of 30. Okay, got it, got it. So, you talked about licensing, but you also talked about JVs and cross-selling. So,
Yeah.
definitely, I think that all those things fit together. And we've talked a little bit about some of those things, but not specifically about the licensing. So I'll probably lean into the licensing a little bit more,
Yeah.
just because we got someone here who has the expertise in it. But before we get started, I just want to take a minute. We do this show as one of our Brain Trust initiatives through the Small Business Pro University. It's one of our many initiatives. So I just want to share a quick video so you can know a little bit more about what the Small Business Pro University and how it can help you as an entrepreneur and business owner. And then we'll be back talking small business with Scott.
Many small businesses experience low or no revenue growth, and the owners are not making enough money. I founded the Small Business Pro University to help business owners break that cycle by empowering them with greater knowledge and enhanced skills to lead their companies more effectively. Over the past 15 years, I've worked one-on-one with more than 1,000 business owners and taught tens of thousands of people about business. My experience includes serving as a Navy officer, graduating from MIT, earning an MBA from NYU, and achieving the CFA designation. Small Business Pro University empowers entrepreneurs like you to run their businesses more professionally and create sustainable enterprises. Small Business Pro University provides access to valuable resources, partnerships, and relationships that will help you to grow revenue, increase profit, and obtain financing faster and easier. Our Masterpreneur initiatives include more than 100 expert-led multimedia courses and training programs with more than 2,500 lessons. The Small Business Pro Network, our private community for entrepreneurs. Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, our weekly live stream and podcast. Advanced Learning Institutes, focused on revenue generation, profit maximization, and capital acquisition. And the Power Breakfast series, in-person events where business owners learn best practices, enjoy great networking, and gain useful knowledge. If you want to sell more and make more, you need to check out Small Business Pro University. Visit our website at www.smbup.com sbprou.com.
Okay, welcome back. I'm here with Scott Overbeck, talking small business. We're going to focus on leveraging the power of strategic alliances and licensing. So, Scott, when we think of licensing, I always think of like the music industry. You have records, they license songs and all that stuff. What does it really mean to license, and how what does that mean for businesses? So, how would you define that?
Yeah, great question. And I think what I'll do before I answer that, if it's okay, is really just define both terms, because some people might know, some people might think they know, and a lot of people may not know at all. But when you think about a strategic alliance, it's basically an arrangement of mutual benefit between two or more businesses who have complementary resources. And I'll talk about that more shortly. But when we talk about licensing, it's basically an agreement or contract between two different companies where the owner of one company lets the other company use its property under predefined specific parameters. Now, if I step back to kind of licensing in a way that people are familiar, and Andrew, you mentioned it in music, and that's certainly a very typical form of licensing. If you think about any software that you use on your computer, you're agreeing to a license, right? We're going to let you use this under specific parameters, right? You can't use it any way you want. You have to agree to it. I think if you're like me, you basically just scroll through those and say, yes, I'll do it. You don't even take the time to read the 37 pages of what you agreed to, but that is a license. When you think about other types of things that can be licensed, I mean, there's a lot of different assets out there that are available. Um, we typically will call this intellectual property or IP, and things like trademarks, patents, copyrights, trade secrets. Those are all things that can be licensed. Any software, API access that that you have. When you think about content, maybe you have this uh, sales letter that converts more than anything you've ever seen in your life. Believe it or not, that's something that can be licensed out, and it can be licensed out to different industries and monetized in all different types of ways. Um, you mentioned the music industry, manufacturing processes. You think about a manufacturer, different molds, maybe molds that have expired, those can be licensed overseas to other manufacturers. So the list goes on and on, but that in essence is what licensing is all about. It's about identifying those assets that you have that in many cases you're probably not utilizing to their fullest extent and fullest potential, and figuring out ways to monetize that. And then if I just kind of add in the strategic alliance piece, because I'm kind of a one-trick pony. I sort of talk about them in unison because really when you pair them together, that's where the real magic happens. And when we think about a strategic alliance, one of the first questions I ask is, who has already spent millions of dollars to acquire your target audience? And you may have never thought about that, because most businesses think about one prospect at a time, and how do I get a new customer? How do I get a new client? But when you think about strategic alliances, what you're looking to do is say, well, who has already kind of put in that work, and who can I plug into to get access to what I ultimately want, which is a lot more business, a lot more customers, a lot more clients. Now, if you pair that up with licensing, you're taking an asset that you already have and you're monetizing that, and now you're expanding that out to a wide net of people who are potentially interested in it. There's a lot of power in that, and that, in my opinion, is where most small and medium-sized businesses are really missing the mark, and the big corporations have already figured it out.
Okay, that's a great way to think of it. I hadn't. It's sort of the opposite of sort of some of the things I talk about with people. So, so definitely, that's excellent. Got Precious Williams in the house, Killer Pitch
Precious.
Master. So, she's doing great things this year as well, and she's actually got some things that are very licensable. So so it's good that she's here checking us out. So, one thing that came to mind when you talked about licensing, um, it seems like it might be intangible stuff. So, is it always intangible things that are licensed, or is it also tangible things?
Well, it can be either.
Okay.
When you think about tangible things, I mean, software. I mean, can you hold it? Maybe no. Maybe it's halfway between tangible and intangible. But when you get into products like the example I used of molds, like in a manufacturing setting, that's something that's very tangible,
Okay.
that can be monetized. Be
Okay.
designs and blueprints. That's another example of something that's tangible.
Okay. Okay. So, so it can go across different types of products, services, different types of media. Okay. So now, you talked about really that the licensing goes along with strategic alliances, and you mentioned, how large companies spend a lot of time trying to build an audience, and as a small company, I always when you think about marketing, you got to be a lot more targeted and focused and niche based.
Yeah.
But I guess the large companies, they sort of have distribution and need products, and you can potentially partner with them on that. I'm assuming. So, what are some of the there's always a need that have to bring value to the table for them. What are some of the key things that would make a larger company partner with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really is about kind of having a complementary interest. And if you have a big company that has the distribution, and you had mentioned that word, distribution channel is huge, because that's really what we're looking to tap into is who has the distribution channel of where my customers and my future customers and clients live. Now, if we can bring to them high quality products and services that are complementary and not competitive to what they're already offering, that's really where the real win exists. And I'll just step back, and I want to talk about the customer journey roadmap. I don't know how many people have heard that or have thought about it, but um, a customer of a business is on a journey, and um, along that journey they're going to stop off at your business, and they're going to collect one of your products or services, maybe more if you're lucky, and then they're going to move on to other businesses who are going to offer other products and services that they need along that journey. And the journey typically emanates around trying to solve a problem. Now, they may not actually know what that problem is, um, but they know that they have a problem, and they're on this journey to try to solve it. Um, there's going to be very few businesses that are going to be able to address every single step on that roadmap. Um, so we call this the principle of expanded interest. Um, understanding what that roadmap is for our customer who's on that journey um, puts us in a tremendous position of power where we can really leapfrog over our customers who are chasing around, these customers to try to buy, say, more of what they have, where what we can do is we can say, well, I've identified this roadmap. I address maybe 2 out of 7 stops that I've identified. I've got 5 stops that I can partner with other businesses and tap into that revenue stream, really without having to do any additional work. Now, I'm kind of going back and forth in terms of, okay, am I the product or service that I'm plugging into distribution, or am I distribution? Because in many cases, you can kind of be both. So if I have the distribution, right, there's a lot of different products and services that can be plugged in. And if I'm just a product or service, but I'm high quality and I convert well, then I'm in a real position of strength to be able to go to a big company or a bigger company and say, hey, would you be willing to partner, and we'll share in the revenue.
All right. No, that's excellent. So, definitely it sounds great and easy to partner with a big company, but the devil's always in the details. And
It
big
is.
companies have a whole bunch of people. So who do you go to talk about that, or how do you figure that out? I know you need help a lot of times, a specialist, but what type of people within the company are the people that facilitate that?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the company, how big they are. Sometimes you can go right to the CEO, the president, the founder. Other times, they will have an actual person that's in charge of partnerships. It could be strategic partnerships. It could be it's often strategic partnerships, but they'll they'll be the person. Now, just last Friday, I reached out on behalf of a client of mine to a CEO of a very big Boston-based company, and I just said, "Hey, here's what I'm looking to do." And within 5 minutes, this was on LinkedIn, by the way. Within 5 minutes on a Friday, I think it was like 4:40 p.m., I heard back with the name of the person that's in charge of strategic alliances. So now I have a meeting with that individual next Monday, I believe. So um, it's not always super obvious, but if you know what to ask and you know what you're looking to do, and you have like that position of power, you have something to offer to them. Um, the only thing you can get is a no, or ghosting, right? So we've all dealt with that.
Okay. Okay. So, all right. No, that's excellent. Excellent. So, definitely the power of LinkedIn is, has grown over the years, and it's amazing what you can do um, through that. So, we're talking about what we're talking about. Sounds like it could also be like sponsorships. Like I have sponsors for some of my events. Is that the same thing? Is it part of it, or is it something different?
I'd say it kind of depends on the arrangement that you have with the sponsorship. Um, I'm guessing that it's different, but you can clarify once I answer. Um, with the strategic alliance, there's almost always a revenue share in place. And, as a starting point, you want to do a 50-50 and then negotiate from that, where the company is providing the distribution. So they're not really doing a whole lot. The other side is doing the work, right? They're providing the product or the service. They're doing billing, they're doing customer service and all of that. So it's typically a 50-50 of the profits that come out of it. And my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the sponsorships probably aren't set up in that type of way.
Um, that's correct. I guess usually they would be sort of like a customer in that there's not necessarily a revenue share, but there's other value that you
Right,
see. Um,
right.
but definitely doing revenue shares makes sense in a lot of places, and I'm working on some of those now. So
Nice.
this will be good. So we'll get some insight from you on that as well as we go. Um, so you know, if you're a business owner, um, what would you do to sort of assess? Is my IP or is what I have um, worth possibly sponsoring? I mean, possibly licensing or joint venturing, and you know, what might that look like? So, because not every business at every time is ready to do everything. So,
It's true.
so
It's true.
definitely, and we say, hey, what's up, Denise? Darnice, thanks for joining us. So, yeah, if you could share a little bit, how do you sort of self-assess, initially to figure out, is this something I should be thinking about now, or what do I need to put together to be ready to do something like this?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in terms of assessing it, Andrew, you and I spoke about working in your business versus working on your business. We talked about that right before we kicked off, and oftentimes it's hard, kind of as a business owner, to kind of step out from kind of the day to day and look at things more strategically, more holistically. Um, One of the best things that she can do is really just sit down in a quiet place without distraction and just start going through your business and the things that you do and what accomplishes those things, right? And whether it's products, whether it's services, whether it's processes, whether it's documents, whatever that ends up being is a really good kind of place to start. um, I'll just toss in a quick plug, that we have a free business growth audit that we do for prospective clients that, is a very long litany of questions that really gets you thinking about your business in ways that you probably haven't thought about before. So that's something we can also provide to anybody that's interested. But just stepping back, looking at your business holistically, getting away from the day to day of it, and just saying, what do we have? What do we have here? It's typically a lot more than just a product or just a service. And one example that I'll just toss in, that a lot of people typically don't put nearly as much value on as they should is their client list, their email list. And so this is the relationship that's been built between a business and their customers over the years. And it's very often one of, if not the most overlooked assets or pieces of IP that a business has, across the board. When I talk to prospects, like, they're not capitalizing on that nearly as much as they should, and most businesses are really constantly focused on, I need to get new business, new business, new business, and are totally overlooking the power of their existing customers. And I'll even say, because not always is everybody on their list customers. I mean, there's also prospects, there's also leads that haven't bought. Um, there's value in that. When we understand that full holistic customer journey and realize that there's two, three, four, five different additional products and services that I can plug in, that I don't even create, um, to get my existing customers and potential customers or prospects to buy, that's when you can leapfrog over the competition very quickly. In my business, we talk about exponential growth. That's where you see exponential growth, because it's not just a onesie, twosie, threesie. It's just like, oh my goodness, I've got 30% of my list that were prospects that didn't buy my product, but now they're just gobbling up this other thing or things that I'm making available to them. Um, this is a piece of IP that's valued on a balance sheet. If you're looking to sell, right, it rolls into goodwill. Um, and selling to an existing customer can be up to 25 times more cost effective than selling to a new customer. And yet, if you look out on LinkedIn or um, you know blogs and newsletters, people are constantly talking about how to get more customers, and you're looking at like maybe a 1 or 2% website conversion, and you're overlooking this insane, powerful piece of IP that's sitting right in front of you.
Okay. No, that's great point of view. I mean, a lot of times, you don't think of your customers, um, and many times that could be more valuable than your business. I went to, had to value a business for a doctor, and he wanted to sell and get out, but he thought his business might be worth near $1 million, and ended up being worth less than 100,000. But that was because the financials didn't support it. But the thing that did support him actually even being able to sell his business was that he had customer list relationships, and he ended up staying on to facilitate them. So,
Right.
so definitely, that can be valuable. I know a lot of real estate agents, a lot of insurance agents, a lot of accountants, and probably attorneys. When they retire, they sell their business based on that. So,
Right.
so it makes a lot of sense. So now, when you were talking about adding additional products and services, so were you talking about affiliate marketing, or where does affiliate marketing fit into that?
So affiliate marketing is, I would say, a less preferred way of doing a revenue share. It typically tends to be a lot lower, certainly a lot lower than, say, a 50% share of the profits. Um, but it is one way of being able to offer up additional products and services to your customer and prospect base. There's something we do when we work with clients. In addition to kind of creating those strategic alliances, we also implement what we call a resource center, which is really just kind of a catalog of other products and services that that have been identified as being preferable along that journey. So, it's quite possible that we may start out with some items on the affiliate resource center to sort of test and see how they do before we maybe push those a little bit more with maybe email marketing or video marketing or something like that. So so they do fit in nicely, but anytime that you can actually negotiate a strategic alliance, that's when it's going to be much more active. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do a lot more work. It's just going to be it's more active than just putting a link out there on your website and hoping somebody clicks it.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so definitely setting up the program. So now, a lot of people always assume that things are worth more or more valuable than they are. When you're doing licensing deals, I know every product, every situation is different, but any way to kind of give an idea of sort of what how profitable that might be on a unit basis? I guess you said generally they try and do 50-50 if you can, initially. And does that usually resonate in, um, what type of benefit does that usually resonate in for like a smaller or medium-sized business?
Yeah, so when I talk about the 50-50, it's really kind of talking about the marrying of strategic alliances and licensing around kind of that email list, that added distribution where you can plug in, and that's where you can provide additional products and services. Now, if and what we would find is that when implemented properly, business can see a bump in their profits anywhere between 30 and 70%. And that has a lot to do, like, obviously there's a lot of variables in terms of how well managed is the list, and what's the breakdown segmentation between customers and prospects, um, and the quality of the product and service, and the timing, and all of that. So I mean, 30 to 70 is a pretty big range, but when you think about that could be 30 to 70 annualized, and as you're growing, you're just growing on top of that. It can add up to some pretty nice numbers. um, when we're talking about just licensing. So if we kind of peel back the strategic alliance piece, and just talk about, okay, say licensing, um, and maybe I'm licensing out a sales copy, or a process, or a piece of software, or something like that. There's so many variables that that come into play, that it's hard to just give a number on what that would look like. But the beauty of it is that when you look to license something, um, you often have the potential of being able to kind of go outside of, say, whatever niche you're in, or whatever even industry you're in. When we think about sales copy, like, if you have a good sales copy that converts selling widgets, it's going to convert selling probably whatever. So you can go outside of that, and that's where you kind of get that added distribution as well.
Okay, great, great. So now, a lot of people have written books or thinking about writing books. I've written 3, and I use them. I share them through Amazon and Audible. Would you? Is that like a licensing agreement, or what would you consider that to be, since we're sort of working together?
Yeah, I mean, you're certainly tapping into distribution.
Hmm.
I don't know I'd have to see what the exact agreement is, to say whether it's licensing. I would say it's licensing like, it's strategic alliance like. It's got kind of some pieces that could make it so, but I don't know if it would officially be called that.
Okay.
Without question, you're tapping into distribution, and you're saying, hey, who has spent, back to that magic question that I mentioned at the beginning, who has spent millions and millions of dollars to acquire my target audience? I mean, Amazon comes on the list pretty quick.
Yeah. No, that definitely. That so um, I guess, if you're preparing for a strategic alliance, or you're going to talk to someone, um, generally, I don't know, a lot of times if you're going to talk to someone about financing your business, you need a pitch deck. If you're a speaker, you need like a speaker one sheet. Is there something that you should think about putting together, or a format, or anything that you should be thinking about if you're going to do licensing?
Yeah, yeah. So, if you are a product or service that's looking to license, I mean, you're going to need to. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it a pitch deck, but I mean, it's going to really kind of tell the story, which is what a pitch deck does, right? So, so maybe it is a pitch deck after all. you're going to talk about you. You're going to talk about this product and service. What you're looking to accomplish out of it. But really, before you even have that, like you just need to kind of know what the outcome is. What are you looking to accomplish? And then put your plan together on how you're going to get there. Depending upon the size of the business that you're looking to partner with, they may not require much. I mean, one phone call and somebody's like, yeah, let's do it. And we're drafting agreements. And then other businesses were, month 2, 3, and 4 trying to hammer things out, right? And obviously, the bigger the business, the more people involved, and then you toss in vacations and competing priorities and all of that, and it gets tricky. But I'll circle around to answering your question. You do need something. It just, I guess, depends on how complex it is. What you need, how much effort you need to put into it.
Okay, great, great. And when you're looking at buying a business, most businesses don't sell, but one thing that can make it more likely to sell is you figuring out who you want to sell to, or who might be interested in buying before you're ready to sell. So when people come to your clients, come to you, do they usually come to you with, these are the people we think we'd want to partner with, or do you sort of figure that out for them? Is it a combination, and what's the best way to do it?
Yeah, thanks for that. Oftentimes, a business is going to already kind of know who, obviously, who their competitors are, and then kind of who sort of, is in the same um, playground, right? So who else deals with the same customers? So in a lot of ways, a business would be able to say, hey, here's 3, 4 different people to reach out to. I think they would be good. Where we found even more value, and this might come as a surprise to people, is that we actually go out and ask the customers, what types of products and services are you buying? And we do this in a format, we call it a sideways survey. So it's not a survey monkey. It's not anything that they go anywhere. It's literally by email. And we try to get it from the owner of the company, have it be very conversational, which is kind of that sideways piece. Just asking, hey, what additional products and services are you buying? It takes longer to to capture that, but it's tremendously powerful, because these are your actual customers that are saying, hey, here's what I bought. And that can shortlist it for you as well. So between the business owner knowing and the customers telling you, that's where we see the tremendous revenue growth, the sales out of it, because these are highly targeted. They're not just like, hey, I think maybe they might be interested, and maybe we'll get 2% or 3% to buy. These are highly targeted. And I'll just mention, like, I don't know how many people are familiar with what Amex, American Express, does, but they're notorious for doing a bang up job of identifying the products and services that that a business owner would be interested in, and presenting those in a way that is very advantageous. And Amex has made hundreds of millions of dollars by doing this with very little work, because it goes back to, they have the distribution and they've identified what their customers are buying, and they just pair them together, and they make a lot of money out of it. So whether you're a business that is looking to get more customers, which who isn't, or you're a business that has distribution, uh, or you're both at the same time. You can play this game on both ends, and it's valuable and it's profitable, and it doesn't require a lot of work on either side.
Okay. Okay. So makes sense. Makes sense. So you work with different clients. You know, the audience is more smaller clients, or small businesses. You know, take me through like a deal. What is, give an example of whatever example you can give
Sure.
about the process, and what someone could expect in the
Of
license
course.
process.
Of course. So if we think about a business that offers an email service, let's say, that's a space that I'm very active in right now with a client. So they offer an email service, and then we say, well, what other types of complementary products or services could they be interested in? And it doesn't take too long to think of a few. I mean, you think about hosting, web design, um, web conversion tools, SEO. Those are all fair game. Things that can be popped in, and that's without even going and asking, okay, so what other things are you purchasing these days, or even talking to the business owner. Um, and the more you do this, the more things just kind of jump out of you. Um, if I think about a product, let's say take a weight loss supplement as an example. What other things might somebody who purchases that be interested in? Well, what about a digital scale? What about a motivational program, multivitamins, walking shoes, a jump rope, water bottle? The list goes on and on. Um, those are simple examples, but those are really tangible things that you'd say, well, if all I did as a business owner was produce the best weight loss supplement on the planet, I probably don't have time to do everything else, but other businesses do. And if I know that my customers are going other places, then off I go.
Okay. Okay. No, definitely a good example of, there's a lot more, you know, opportunity out there than you would think. Um, just at first blush, but giving
I
it a
think
little thought.
I think the big thing is getting people to step away from the idea of they're my customers and I'm going to keep them at all costs, even though I'm going to spend most of my time trying to get new customers, right? So it's just like there's a disconnect there. But when you look at it and say, okay, so these are my customers, they trust me. And if you're doing a decent job with managing that trust, like getting in front of them periodically, they're going to be very, very receptive to additional products and services that you offer to them, as long as they're things that they're actually interested in. So, as I mentioned, it doesn't take a lot of research to figure out what they're interested in. And by the way, you can just ask them. Um, but once you've built up that trust, I mean, you're actually doing them a service, because I can go out and search on Google and find something, but how much time am I going to take to find it? How much time do I want to spend researching? So we're all busy. But if I have a trusted friend or an advisor who's like, hey, you should really check this out, I'm going to probably do it. Because why? Because I trust that person. And that's really what we're trying to capitalize on. So you spent a lot of time, a lot of money to build that trust. There's value in that. It's not a bad thing to look at monetizing it, because everybody's happy. Everybody wins in the deal. Nobody's like getting taken advantage of. And that's what I love about it.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, makes a lot of sense. As a trusted advisor, I work with clients on certain things, but they always have other needs and other
Always.
wants, other things on their mind. So we end up talking about them, and some of them I can handle, but some of them I can't. But having a network, having partners. I guess we're not formally strategic partners, but we are kind of strategic partners that you can bring in to provide what they need is key. So,
It
just
is. It
so,
is. And when you think about different businesses, like maybe you're not going to do full on revenue shares, but you think about what a referral partner can do, and if the referral partner has the distribution, right? They've spent money, maybe not millions of dollars, but they have spent time and effort to amass people. Um, and it's the same audience that you're interested in, well, you're certainly not going to give up 50% of your consulting fee, but maybe you're going to say, hey, I'll give you 10% of what I bring in because you're the one who brought the customer, right? That's a very real agreement too, and I have several of those in place right now that are working out great because now, I mean, a lot of people want to help, but when you put a little bit of a financial incentive in there too, it just makes it all the more real, and
mhm.
it's more equitable to do it that way.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, if people are bringing value, as you mentioned, getting a new customer is not necessarily easy. So if
No,
if someone can cut that time in half or even eliminate that in the process, that's valuable.
for sure.
So um, so that's cool. And then you know I guess with your company also, you mentioned that you have the assessment that
Yeah.
can that people can check out, and they can catch up with you through LinkedIn, which we've got your LinkedIn info in the chat. And if you didn't see it, we've got it here. And feel free to reach out to Scott that way as well. Um,
And
you know,
and I'll and if I could just interject, I'll mention that a client that I took through a hybrid of that, it wasn't even the full on one. We identified an additional $3 million annual profit center, just by stepping away from the business, looking at it strategically, talking very methodically. What do you have? What do you do? What do you use? $3 million annual a year, not too shabby.
very nice, very nice. So it works. It
It
can definitely.
works.
So cool. So the hour's almost up, but I'm not going to let you get out of here that easily. We always ask people to share three key things or three key takeaways that you want people to have going away from here, because we talked about a lot of stuff, but if you don't remember anything else, what are three key things? So I'll give you a minute to think about it. I'm going to play a short video about my most recent book, and then we'll be back talking small business with Scott.
Great.
See you in a sec.
Most businesses are not growing, could be more profitable, and have cash flow issues due to lack of capital. What if you knew the secret to generating revenue, maximizing profitability, and acquiring capital when you need it?
I'm Andrew Frazier, and I have developed a proven 5-step framework to take you from startup to scaling faster and easier.
I laid it all out in the Masterpreneur Playbook. It's available now in both English and Spanish on Amazon, Audible, and my website, sbprouc.com. Get your copy today to start selling more and making more sooner.
All right, back here with Scott Overbeck, and we've been talking about really the power of strategic alliances as well as licensing. And before we close out, Scott's going to share three key things that you should take away, that you should be thinking about and can actually even start working on tomorrow or tonight if you're a night owl, like many business owners. So, what do you got, Scott?
Here's what I got. So, who has spent millions of dollars to acquire your target audience. That's huge. And that really sets up everything for possible strategic alliance. Understanding that your customer list is very probably your most valuable asset or IP. And then what are you doing with that asset? Um, for a lot of people, the answer is nothing. So what can you do starting tonight or tomorrow morning to change that around? And then, finally, I have understanding your customer's journey. If you understand the different hops that they make, the different stops, and where you fit in and where you don't, um, that is so powerful, and that can immediately leapfrog you over your competition and set you up for exponential growth.
Okay, excellent. So, you know, why spend a whole bunch of money on something when someone already did and you can benefit from it? So
Indeed.
makes a lot of sense. Um, you know, definitely your customer list. There's and like you mentioned, a lot of times you already have, the solution to your problem. If you just, look inward. And your customer list can be one of those things that is a undervalued asset and could really bring you some great opportunities. And understanding the journey, and even before you understand the journey, a lot of times as small business owners, you may need to actually go back and redefine your target market. You know, clarify, in more detail who it is and why, so that you really understand where you fit. And it's and it's not, a lot of times people think, well, they're my customer, so they're my target market, but that doesn't necessarily mean that. So
It's true. And one of the things that we've seen in walking people through the business growth audit is that they've really kind of departed from kind of where their clients were, who they were, how they got them, and what they do with them from the beginning of time until now. Now, if it's an evolution, that's fine, and that happens, but oftentimes they're just kind of blowing in the wind. And to really spend the time, as you mentioned, just to kind of retarget and really think about who your customers are, is really valuable. It's a good exercise, regardless of what you end up doing with it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think especially for small businesses, you got so many things going on, you can't know everything.
That's right.
Um, but you're really out there marketing and selling and sort of winging it because you don't really necessarily may not have experience or much knowledge about either of them, but you're out there doing it.
Yes.
So stepping back and figuring out how to do it right, especially for stuff like this, makes a lot of sense. So okay. Well, Scott, definitely appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. This was good for me, and we got some comments from the audience, and I think it's been valuable. So thank you again for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Okay, excellent, and definitely appreciate the offer, and encourage people to take them up for it. If nothing else, you'll learn something. And at the end of the day, um, business is a journey, and you got to continue to continually learn. And this is something that's going to come to you. Generally, people aren't going to come to you for the strategic partnership or the licensing because you're usually small. But that doesn't mean it can't happen. You just have to do what you need to do to be successful in general, and that's being proactive. So you can't wait. Being creative. Don't do things the same way as everybody else. What's the best way for you? And then being flexible. How can I adjust to create more value or opportunities? So Scott, thanks for sharing on that. Anything you want to share before you head out? Before we close out?
I think you did a great job of wrapping up. I appreciate the opportunity. I hope this was valuable to people. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, excellent. So hang out for a minute as I close out.
Of
And,
course.
you know, definitely once again, appreciated having Scott on. This was a great topic and glad we were finally able to really cover it in a good way. And, definitely encourage you to share this with other people. Each week we have a great guest. Next week we have a new topic. A little bit, still on the sales and marketing side, but a different perspective. And next week, who we have is Vic Nichols. So we're going to talk about, boosting revenue through strategic partnerships. So, there's a lot of different ways to do things. He's done a lot of great things in Newark, in New Jersey, and he really brings together groups and organizations to really put together activities, products, programs, and really creating a partnership. So he's going to talk a little bit about sort of how that works, what he does, and how that might be able to work for you. So hopefully you can join us next week. And always at the end of the day, the more that you know, the more successfully and the faster your business is going to grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.